Welcome to Medicine, Motherhood, and Missions, the podcast where real life meets big dreams. I'm Johanna, your host, and every episode will dive into inspiring stories from PAs, doctors, and professionals who are also dreamers and mission-driven changemakers. From the hospital halls to the hearts of our homes, and even into communities across the world, we'll laugh, learn, and uncover the challenges, triumphs, and everything in between as we see life through each other's perspectives. Looking for more joy and balance in your career? Don't miss our free guide, How to Be a Fulfilled Clinician, your quick boost of encouragement with tips to help you thrive while juggling all your hats you wear. And if you've got little dreamers at home, check out Little Evie's Big Dreams on Amazon. These stories are meant to spark imagination, courage, and kindness, perfect for bedtime or anytime. Follow along as Evie, a little Sri Lankan girl, brings joy and creativity to her community while daring to dream big. This podcast is also brought to you with love by the Ephraim Foundation International, because empowering children and families in rural Sri Lanka isn't just charity, it's continuing a legacy of hope and creating futures full of possibility. So grab your cup of coffee or tea, settle in, and get ready for uplifting conversations that will leave you inspired and equipped to make a greater impact. Let's jump in. Welcome back to Medicine Motherhood Missions. Today is a special episode because I'm joined with my husband, Dr. Paul Moses, again.
Hello.
We've been through career changes, raising a daughter, ministry, missions, health challenges, and building a life together. Today, we're having an honest conversation about marriage, biblical roles, leadership, partnerships, and what we've learned, not because we've perfected marriage, but because we are committed to growing together and keeping Christ at the center. So thank you again, Paul, for coming on the show. And how are things going?
I'm very happy to be enjoying the summer and just taking it a bit easier this summer than other summers, just to enjoy being with the family and just getting some relaxation.
Yeah, Paul is a professor, and it's quite a 24/7 job in a way, because research is always there. Applying for grants, applying for so many research projects. It's kind of like a never-ending kind of a job. So it is kind of nice to take a small break. And I also took a little break this summer too, to spend time with our daughter and the family a little bit more, because our jobs can be quite intense and all-consuming. So it does take a lot of intentional time to spend time together and connect, right?
Right.
Let's just do some fun rapid fire questions, like, who apologizes first or more often?
I guess I do, because I realize I make a mistake almost immediately, and hopefully no. But I think sometimes I forget to apologize as well.
Yeah, I think we both try to a lot whenever we realize that we are wrong. And that's one thing that we kind of want to teach our daughter a lot, is that apologizing is so important, to say the words, I'm sorry. So we do try to intentionally practice that with each other and with her, to intentionally say those words.
Right. I now thinking back, I'm even more in recent years, I'm trying to improve on this so that I have to apologize. I try to do it sooner rather than later. Sometimes it takes a lot of time for me to realize, I didn't. Probably I should apologize.
Yeah, that's life. We all have those moments. Who's more organized?
Oh, you are, for sure.
Yeah. And who's more spontaneous?
I think we both are, right? But
yeah,
I can't say like.
In a way, we both are, but in a way, we're both very plan, But well, especially if we're on a trip or doing something, we'll just try to do.
Yeah, usually, you come up with the spontaneous idea, and then I'm all for it and want to do it. And let's go here. I sometimes I'm a bit resistant. Oh, it's a lot of effort, but eventually I come around. Yeah.
Yeah, like the other day going for tennis.
Yeah, that was right. Okay, that's a good example of where I knew it was good for me, uh, but I was in my summer lethargic mode. But after a few convincing words, yeah, we went.
Yeah, and it was so
It
worth
was
it.
great. Yeah, we
Yeah.
got to
So it is
meet our
me kind of
friends.
dragging you around sometimes.
It is, but it's like it's good for me.
But you're up
Yeah,
for it at
yeah.
least, yeah. And so, who's the better cook?
Okay, now this is interesting because I think in our family, I think before 2019 or so, around 2019, I really had this earnest desire to learn how to cook. And prior to 2018, 2019, I
I was doing all the cooking.
Johanna and my mother-in-law was doing cooking. But after 2019, I felt welling up in myself to try and become more of a contributor in that area. So actually, since probably a couple of years after 2019 was the beginning, and I started to watch them cook and take notes and write down the procedure, recipe, and then I eventually executed. And since 2022ish, I've been
Yeah, Paul does equal load of cooking, and he actually makes one of the best chicken curries. He cooks Sri Lankan food, which is quite time consuming, but we've gotten it down to like a quick procedure because we've gotten used to what to throw in.
Yeah, to me, if it can be all done within an hour, that's preparation, cooking, and cleanup within an hour or an hour and 15, then it's manageable, and we're able to do that.
But that is for one curry. Now, if we're talking several curries, like for a big, huge meal, then it takes a little longer for us to get all of that together. But we're able to do that. And actually, Genevieve really loves Paul's. She loves Dada's cooking.
And I actually enjoy doing it. It's kind of just relaxing and chopping the onions. And I just really enjoy doing it for some reason when I get into it. And I feel satisfaction. And Genevieve loves it, as you said, and that encourages me to do more.
Yeah, yeah. So we actually share the cooking load quite a bit, and because he likes to do the Sri Lankan style cooking, then when I cook, I try to do a little bit more other flavors and things so that we have like a little bit more of a variety.
Yeah.
But
speaking about spontaneity, I mean, just a week or so ago, we said, let's make some fish cutlets. And we had a whole assembly line of even Genevieve.
Oh, yeah, that's actually one of our favorite family traditions. It's become like a really fun tradition that we do with Genevieve. She's the one who always wants to do it. And so because she's like, can we do it? Can we do it? Can we do it? We finally get around to, getting the energy to do it. And she loves it because she gets to be involved in the cooking and seeing what goes on. And she helps. And we're all like in an assembly line of, the process of breadcrumbs or, putting the yolk and then make it into a little ball and all these things. And so, but, yeah. And then morning person, night person. I'd say I'm the morning person for sure. Paul was definitely more of the night person, but now after having kids, we're both too tired at the night. So we all go to sleep kind of early, except when I work late. Because now during the day, it's sometimes hard for me to get work done. So my work gets done after Genevieve goes to sleep or early in the morning or when she's at school.
Right.
And so what else do you want to like kind of talk about how we met or?
Yeah, I can go back to, I was not from up until started talking. I've never dated before. I was not part of my interest or culture. Or not that I'm saying it's wrong or anything, but it's just I didn't feel compelled to do that all throughout my education and life in Australia. and I was working. I was happy working, and then studying, and but then suddenly, I think in 2013, of course, my parents at that time were starting to raise the question more often. We know some people, we know this, and even then, I would just shoot it down. I was not interested. And then when I went to Sri Lanka in 2013, since I was a baby, I just that was also a miracle. Normally I wouldn't want to go to Sri Lanka with my parents, or not nothing against them. I just didn't want to travel or do anything like that. But that particular time, I felt an interest to go there, and that's where we connected. Not with personally, we didn't know each other or knew each other existed, but I connected with her aunt, Auntie Hildegard, who got to meet me, and but even then, she didn't mention anything about Johanna at all. It was many months later. But after many months later, when she contacted or I started talking about it to you or your mom, maybe you could clarify how it worked on your end. But when I got word that there's this person that she's in America and she's doing the doing sorry, she's studying and she's working, and I got to learn more about it. I got very interested, it was a change in my heart. Suddenly, I thought, okay, let me explore this, and that's how we started conversing.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, you were not interested in any other ones that were suggested, and I was never interested because people, in our culture, like they say, "Hey, this guy or this girl," they kind of make recommendations, aunties and uncles everywhere around the world. When they hear that somebody is single, they're like, "Hey, why don't we, you know, make a match?" And I never was interested in any of those before because I was like, I don't know who these people are. I don't know where they came from. I don't know what their lifestyle is. And so it was like, like nerve-wracking, right? When you think of like some random person and you're supposed to be matched up with them, and especially if they're like in a different country. But I don't know why, like for us, we were both in different countries. We were both working at that time. We had already established ourselves in our careers and had finished all of our education. Ironically, like it's funny because our timelines are so similar, even though they've been in different countries or different places. Like I think all of those similarities kind of helped us bond. And then the fact that our families have known each other really helped me feel comfortable with meeting someone that I've never met before. And so even though it was kind of a really new thing for me to consider, that fact that we both had families that had known each other in the past helped me feel more comfortable with the idea. And then once we started communicating, we just really felt very similar. We had similar backgrounds, like both of us had grown up in different countries, traveling to different countries, living in different countries throughout our life, never in one same spot. We both grew up moving multiple times. Then our time frames of when we completed our, educations were so similar, and our ideas of what we wanted for the future and our passions. So there were so many similarities. And I think like, even though sometimes our personalities are very different, we have similar passions, similar interests, similar goals. We had similar ideas of what our faith looked like and what we wanted out of life, right?
yeah, that's right. That's what made me open to exploring to getting to know Johanna and then eventually meeting and getting engaged, that we had that similar background and value system. And although we have differences in our personalities, but we had a lot of complementary things.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was. And I think it was a change in my heart that once I felt that she had shared the same beliefs and values, and it just grew from there.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, thinking about our story, looking back, what expectations did you have with marriage or about marriage, and have they changed?
Expectations. I think it initially, maybe I was uh, pre. I mean, when we got married, I knew that, or at least we defaulted into certain roles. But over time, like for example, as we talked about Johanna's cooking and so on,
But
but
you always helped around the house. You would clean. It's not like you were like, I only had domain over the house, because
yeah,
you always help with laundry. You would help with.
right, we would do those things, but we were dynamic. We didn't do the same thing all the time, same people. For example, when I got really sick in 2022 and for a couple of years, basically I couldn't do anything. Johanna and her mother had to really take full control of everything in the house, and I couldn't do anything. So life deals you certain circumstances that will change how you operate in a marriage. And I think we learned, so you asked about expectations, just expect the unexpected and you don't be be flexible in your thinking and your assumptions. So that's what I've learned.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we got married young, and
Not that
we were
young, but
actually in our 30s, but we
31.
felt young and we felt healthy, and we were.
Mhm.
And, all of a sudden, life dealt us with cancer,
Yeah,
out of the blue.
that's right.
Who had cancer, and we had a 2-year-old at the time, and we were supposed to go to visit your parents, and all of a sudden
Mhm.
we got the diagnosis. We had to cancel seeing your parents, and we had little Genevieve, 2 years old. We thought life was, at its wonderful peak, because we were like about to travel, about to, we had these careers, we had these ideas of what life would be, and then all of a sudden everything changed, and it was a quite aggressive cancer.
It
out of a
was
sudden,
because it occurred and I went through the chemo and all that, and then it disappeared for a while, and then it reoccurred a few months later. And then they had to go in through more intensive chemo, which really wrecked me, and a deep surgery to get it out, and a lot of prayer. And God, I think, has now restored me. In fact, I feel better than what I was going. I'm doing more. I'm eating healthier. I'm I'm trying to be more active than I was, and so it probably was in. Although I really would not want to go through that again, or anyone. It's a terrible, debilitating thing, but it did. I think there was some good that came out of it for me personally, and how I view life. And but that's the kind of so we've had this experience in our life, and I think it drew us closer, and we know that God is always watching us and not give us more than what we can handle. And it took me right down to absolute nothing. I just had to surrender, and God pulled me out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it was, there were many times where you almost thought you were not going to make it through or not be able to make it through.
Particularly the second time it came back and they went in aggressively. It was in the hospital bed. I just was just in my deepest despair, I think, in my whole life.
But the amazing thing and the testament that God's faithfulness, but the strength that Paul has in him, because despite having the cancer, going through chemo, and I would go to work and I would round quickly on the facilities and then go to be with him while he was in the chemo infusion centers. And I would sit there and he would be working. He was applying for his career grant, which he ended up getting despite having cancer. He sat with IVs pumping chemo into him and be so weak. And sometimes, if we were at home, he'd be on the bed, but sitting with his laptop, trying to apply for grants, continue his research.
Yeah.
It was
I didn't-
hard. And
God-
yet you had
Mm.
God-given strength to do that. And by God's grace, the career grant and, tenure and all of those things, despite facing incredible difficulties in your health at that time. And I just want to point out, that what you did was not easy. Because you could have easily said, I can't do anything right now. I don't have the strength to do anything. I am doing chemo. Let me just sit here. But
I think again that's God again working through me, because what motivated me to do that while I was in that? It's not as if I did have really nothing to do except to tolerate that.
But you also said you to have your mind working on all that. Like you felt like you at times, right?
Yeah.
You said,
I mean,
but it wasn't hard, and the latter half was difficult.
yeah, but God gives you, that was, in whatever circumstance you have, you just got to make the most of it. And I thought, okay, I'll just try, give it my best shot, and writing that grant. And God encourages you,
Yeah.
gives you correct, and it happened to you as well. Like before all this, you had encouragement throughout your life that keeps you afloat.
Moving.
Yeah.
I think that's also the key, is God allows those things to help encourage us, right?
Mhm.
To get those grants, to get that opportunity, to that little blessing, that little thing that keeps that spark of hope alive, right? And because all of those things are God given, right?
Right.
Those are the things that we can thank God for and have that aspect of gratitude. I know I've spoken about this before, about how gratitude helped me through those years throughout my life. That's something my dad taught me. And, just to keep an attitude of gratitude, towards life, no matter what the difficulties we face. Not that I'm negating that we had difficulties or that it was difficult for us emotionally, physically, mentally, but I would force myself to look for something beautiful. And those miracles kept us going, kept us moving forward, kept us hopeful of life. And, it was something that will.
Yeah. It did take me, after I went through that, it took me a while to get mentally back to myself.
Yeah.
And Johanna, for strength through all that. And I don't know how, from her point of view, experiencing a husband going through that, but she didn't let me know any of her her fears or any possible, um, you know, discouragement that she may be feeling, because she was there for me. So I'm very grateful that I have people around me that were supportive.
Well, I think because when I'm discouraged, he encourages me. And when he was so discouraged, I tried to encourage him and
Mm.
I think that's what we do,
Yeah,
right,
we
for
do that
each other.
continually,
And
every
no
day.
matter hard
Yeah.
things, small things, big things,
Mm.
big disappointments, small disappointments, we do try to encourage each other,
Mm-hmm.
and try to help know that we're there for each other.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I think in a way also going through those difficult challenges, when people say biblical roles, I don't really know what that even, I do know what they mean by that for some people, but
Mm-hmm.
how would you say we have kind of ascertained that?
Yeah, it's very odd because when I read the Bible, and now I've been reading commentaries and discussions about these gender roles and also not just gender, but cultural roles as well. That the Bible, um, they they don't make a big deal about these. In fact, they don't say women should do this and do that. Nothing.
Yeah,
In fact, they give examples to the contrary, that there are different functions that men and women take, and they change throughout the Bible, Old and New Testament. I was just reading about Deborah. Well, she was the leading judge. All the Israelites came to her, ask for insight or words from God, a woman. This whole situation seems to be crescendoing now with
SBC making
it
people
just
like
it's
any
absurd.
women.
Yeah. So that's my view, and I know it's going to ruffle feathers. People, I have a motivation to not make sure that it filters down into my family and my daughter.
And when they say cultural, and I know in various different cultures, there's even in South Asian cultures, it can be patriarchal. But I don't know, our parents had such a different perspective in life, maybe because they were immigrants, moving countries, having to start lives all on their own. They had to rely on each other. They had to support each other when they started from nothing, right? And I think that allowed us to see an example that was so different in the family when both had to struggle in new countries together, working in and out of the house together. And so that's what we saw growing up. And I know you did too. And I think also culturally, actually, South Asians, education is so important no matter whether you're a girl or because education is a way out of poverty, right? It's a way to improve. It's a way to get out of the poverty that a lot of people face. And everyone is encouraged to get a degree, to study. So I'm not sure. Sometimes I remember some people asking whether we faced different cultural negativity towards women, but growing up such a different life than that we saw our parents examples supportive of each other. They worked together and they wanted better for us as girls, as
Right.
daughters.
But I would add that I grew up in Australia,
Mhm.
my most of my early education and higher education was in Australia. In that country, not just South Asians, there's a whole variety of
Right.
cultures there. And I would say that the majority of those people would value education for no matter what their cultural background is. They were encouraged to get a degree. I worked with um, a lot of people from different cultures and Asian, non-Asian, and they will all have the same values as I did.
Yeah.
And so But you're right. It is kind of emphasized a lot in South Asian, Middle Eastern culture as well, that you have to have an education driven by being not being uh, pulled into
Yeah.
poverty.
Yeah, to not stay stagnant, to have stability, security, safety, all of those things. But yeah, I mean, I don't know about this whole role thing. I think we are all called for a unique purpose, unique calling in our lives. Jesus came and he was so radical in his way of thinking, in the context of the ways people were living in those days, the cultural context, everything was negative towards women, but he came and he changed it. He flipped it, right? He went to the well in Samaria, and he saw a Samaritan woman who was considered lesser than the Jews, and he spoke to her, and she became an evangelist for the people in that area by her testimony. And he allowed Mary Magdalene to wipe his feet with her hair and anoint him with oil. And in a room full of men. And he said to those who were judging, saying, "Don't look poorly upon her, because no one else has anointed me, but she has taken the time to anoint me with her tears, her best that she has." And I think sometimes we think too much about what we need to do, like roles, rules, regulations. And I think this goes back to what we were talking about earlier, is have we forgotten that we serve a living God, like a real living God who hears us, knows us, and when we think of our faith, it's a living, active faith that empowers us and that emboldens us, then we know that nothing is impossible through Christ Jesus. And we know that we are called for something greater, not to give us shame or to give us difficulty and like we're overwhelmed with that. Because he says, in him we find our strength.
Yeah, I was reading a book by R.T. Krantz, a fairly famous theologian. The book is titled "The Living God," and it's about 100 pages, very easy to read, and it really enlightened me that yes, the triune Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit are distinct persons, but also united beyond our thinking, and that we don't. His point in that book was he feels that many people don't realize we have a dynamic and active God, the triune God, in our lives in the present. Okay, a lot of people think he's set the world in motion and he's standing back and watching. That's not true. He's an active participant in your individual life. And so the Holy Spirit that he sent to us, to speak to us, is there in us, is as equal and as powerful as the Father and the Son. And he says that a lot of people have lost sight of this. And this enormous power and strength he had.
Yeah. I mean, and looking at that, when we think of like the cancer that you went through, and growing up, I've seen so much of God's faithful miracles in my own life. I guess even though we go through difficulties and it's so painful, and I saw suffering, like I saw how he suffered from everything, but it allowed us to see this beautiful, faithful, loving Heavenly Father in our life, working in our lives, helping us as we changed the baby's diapers and went to work and came home to help him. And, the faithful love of God as we saw him all in the hospital. But we were able to take it back home many, many times, no matter how we had to see the suffering at the hospital. Thank God we were able to bring it home eventually, right? And here you are, healthy and strong by the grace of God, and that's what sometimes we miss out because we get so comfortable in life and in our faith that we're just doing the right things. We're following the rules. We're being in the right circles, getting the right things done or check marking things. But we're not really seeing the power of the Holy Spirit work in and through our lives, right?
Yeah, we get so caught up in the mechanics of doing this and picking up Johanna, by the way, to pick her up soon. And I was thinking about this earlier today, that we're so distracted. This time in our human history, we have so many more distractions, social media, electronics, and just activity filling our lives, that we lose sight of a dynamic God that wants to be close to us and fellowship with us.
Yeah.
Is that what you were alluding to?
Exactly. Because then we think of it more as we're following a religion and check marking things versus that understanding of a God who loves us and cares for every little detail of our life. And that a God that, I often say I have seen the faithfulness of God in my life, that, when we go through troubles, someone had asked me, how did I feel like I, went away from my faith during difficulties and struggles? And I said, how can I run away from my faith when all I have known in my whole life is how to run to him when I need him, when I'm happy, when I'm sad, when I'm in sorrow, when I'm in suffering. All I've known is to run to my Father, And so, but yeah, I mean, that's a little snippet of marriage and our faith in marriage, I guess.
I know I'll on exactly marriage and what we've journeyed through and learned, and we're still we've been married nearly 12 years, and we're still learning, and there's more.
And we're not perfect.
In fact, there's a lot more to learn. I think I feel hopeful and excited about the rest of the year ahead, and where God will take us. And I'm grateful to be here.
Yeah. And so, well, thank you for this little episode today, Paul. And I appreciate your time too to do this for the podcast. Thank you all for listening today as well. Marriage isn't about finding the perfect person. It's about choosing to love, serve, forgive, and grow with the person God has entrusted to you. Whether you're single, engaged, newly married, or have been married for decades, our hope is not that today's conversation encourages you to try to find a marriage, find a relationship, but to pursue Christ and let everything else fall into place around it. If this episode encourages you, we'd love for you to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who could use this conversation too. Until next time, keep pursuing excellence in medicine, faithfulness, motherhood, parenting, and courage in the mission God has placed before you. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us in this episode of Medicine, Motherhood, and Missions. We hope you found inspiration, insight, and a sense of connection in the stories we shared today. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe and leave us a review. Your feedback helps us reach more listeners like you. Follow us on Instagram for updates, free downloads, and to join a community of like-minded individuals passionate about making a difference through medicine, motherhood, and mission work. Remember, you're not alone in this journey. Until next time, keep sparking hope, keep healing, keep nurturing, and keep making a difference. This is Johanna signing off from Medicine, Motherhood, and Missions. The medical opinions expressed on this podcast are for informational purposes only and should not be considered as medical advice. Always consult a licensed healthcare provider for personal medical concerns or questions. The views expressed by guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of the podcast host.